Ben Fowlkes here with Yahoo Sports. I'm talking to UFC President Dana White, who's getting set to launch, I believe, the eighth installment of the Contender Series this week. Dana, one of the things that I've wondered as I've been watching the Contender Series over the years is it seems like what it's doing is more or less what you originally set out to do with the Ultimate Fighter, kind of creating a contest system to win a UFC contract. And it seems like to those of us who have been watching a lot of the Ultimate Fighter seasons over the years and years and years of it, the Contender Series does it a little more efficiently, and you get straight to the fights. Makes me wonder a little bit, why continue doing the Ultimate Fighter? Why not just do more Contender Series fights and get the same result?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. The reason is because people still like Tough. I mean, during a season of Tough, I still have like a loyal fan base of people that will hit me up and tell me that they love the Ultimate Fighter. The network still loves it, so we still do it. I wish. Listen to me. So the Contender Series was created for the same reason Tough was to take talent that nobody's heard about, nobody knows, cultivate it, get people to care about them, and turn them into stars. So if you take Tough, the Contender Series, and Looking for a Fight, they all accomplish the same goals, but in different ways. If there was enough young up-and-coming talent out there, I wish we could do this every Tuesday for 52 weeks a year. I love this show so much. Like yesterday, I fucked up and I thought yesterday was Tuesday. So I was excited like all morning, like I can't wait to see the Contender tonight, and then realized it was Monday. And yeah, so that's how I feel today. I love the Contender Series. If you're a fight fan, literally even have this much of a fight fan in you, it's the best show on television, period, end of story.
Well, one difference it seems between the way the Contender Series works and the Ultimate Fighter works is the Ultimate Fighter is a tournament. You win all the fights through it. You end up as the Ultimate Fighter in the end, and you get the contract. The Contender Series is a little more amorphous. They're trying to impress you and the matchmakers. I wonder how you balance, hey, we want to get exciting guys. They know we're expecting certain kinds of fights, but then I would assume you don't want to put your thumb on the scale too much to where you only get certain types of fighters or guys fighting away from their strengths trying to impress you guys.
Well, here's the two different types of guys. So two different results that you get from both different shows. So on the Ultimate Fighter, it is a pressure cooker for these guys. They're living in the house, away from their families and their teams and their camps, cameras in their faces 24/7. You get different results by the end of Tough. It's almost like hardcore media training, with these guys. Plus, for you, the fans, you get to see their personalities, their ups, their downs. You learn more about them. Then on the Contender Series, there's a brief little. I have no idea who's on the show tonight. I don't want to know anything about these guys, what they've done before, who they train with. I don't know until we get there. There's a little book in front of me, and I get to see, and I write my notes. And these guys have to come in. I don't care what you did before. Show me right here, right now, who you are. Right? So we end up getting unbelievable fights. So you get two different types of results from the fighters that go through these two different experiences. And both are good.
Who handles all the scouting for that? Because I mean, I've talked to your matchmakers. They seem kind of overworked as it is. Are they responsible for, watching every LFA event and all that kind of stuff to find these guys?
Everybody in this building is overworked. My production team right now might be dead by September 14th. So yes, the matchmaker, Sean and Mick, scout all the talent. And, the things that you don't realize behind the scenes, just like a regular show, guys fall out. So they're trying to replace guys as we lead into into the season. And the season is short anyway. It's not like, like a regular a year here at the UFC where, we're just fight after fight after fight every Saturday. This is, what is this, 10 weeks? You know what I mean? 10 episodes of fights that need to be filled. So they're this place is a grindhouse. Oh, grindhouse. We're coming into Perth, right? We got Perth coming up. As soon as Perth is over, then we have another fight after that. So when you think about production, the matchmaking, the PR, the creative team who have to come up with the posters, then you got the production side doing all the vignettes and the show opens and all this other. Then you got the marketing team. When a fight falls out, all the posters have to be replaced. Billboards that we bought all have to be ripped down. New ads have to go up. I mean, you just saw a glimpse of it in Fight Inc. on Roku. Which they wanted to do more seasons. And I'm like, we're not doing any more seasons. That, we have enough shit going on here without having cameras in our face every day while we're doing it too. So, this place is a grindhouse.
Well, some of the times the decisions you make about who to give contracts to or who not to give contracts to aren't terribly popular. Like Brendan Loughnan's the great example. I talked to Kyle Baralho, who was just sort of like, hey, when Dana didn't give me a contract after I won one fight, it actually created sympathy for me, where a lot of fans said, hey, you should give that guy a contract. I'm curious, how do you balance as a promoter? How do you think a fight promoter should balance giving the fans what they say they want and giving fans what you think is best, what you think they should want? I mean, obviously, the example that comes to mind is how many times, is there a number of times we can ask you for John Jones versus Tom Aspinall next before you'll cave and say, all right, enough people want it? Like, how do you balance those things?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, when you say John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, does that mean we're saying that Stipe doesn't deserve that fight? I mean, this fight was supposed to happen. John's got injured, and Stipe has paid his dues and has been here forever. And my job is to make the biggest fights that I can possibly make. And I know everybody wants to see Aspinall, but those two are going to fight. And whoever wins, hopefully Aspinall is next. And they're going to give Aspinall the opportunities that they got when they were in their young careers to get to where they are today. Number one. Number two, if you are a young up-and-coming fighter, and listen, if you're another promoter, LFA, Bellator, or one FC, or any of these other guys, the guys that I don't take on the Contender Series that have this type of popularity, you should sign immediately. I mean, this is a great opportunity, whether I sign you or I don't sign you. And yes, a lot of decisions that are made are not necessarily the most popular sometimes. But when you look at, we're going into our 8th season of the Contender Series, right? You got Sugar Sean O'Malley, Jamal Hill have both become world champions off the show. And I think we have like 28 people that have made it into the top 15. And this is my board over here. We have, starts here August 17th, which is Perth this weekend, and goes all the way to December 14th on fights that we've made. And when you look at it, so if you came off the Contender Series, the marks are blue. There's so many blue marks across this whole board right now. The Contender Series has been an incredible talent building tool for us. It did exactly what I had designed it to do.
Well, it seems like the UFC roster is already pretty huge, and I remember talking to the matchmakers years ago, and they were saying that, especially I remember Joe Silva saying that he felt like he was Scotty on Star Trek, telling you, we can't do it, we can't take on anymore. And it seems like you guys have kind of doubled in that. The last I saw was somewhere up over 800 fighters on the UFC roster. How many do you think is too many? How many can the schedule and the opportunities to fight actually support?
Yeah, so that's my job, is to keep pushing everybody that works here. This is too much. How much I hear, this is too much. We can't. This is overload. This is this. This is that. That's my job, to keep pushing, because I'm looking at what's going to happen 5 years from now in the sport and in this company. And if you look at the challenges that we face every week in matchmaking and all the things that I just laid out for you 5 minutes ago, I don't know if the roster can be too big. You have to have a deep roster to do what we do on a daily basis.
Well, I remember 2019, I think it was, you said you were going to introduce the future of fighting, and we later learned you meant the UFC APEX, which at the time you couldn't have known the pandemic was coming, and then it turned out to be really handy to have your own events center and production hub that you could do everything out of. And it seems like a big part of how the Contender Series has managed to be a success, and also so many of the fight nights. It also seems like maybe you guys have reached a little bit of a tipping point with that. Like, it feels to me like fans at times, especially on the fight nights, are getting a little sick of the Apex and want to see more live event stuff. How do you know? Like, I mean, I'm like, the Apex had to be handy at a certain time, but also, do you think that you guys got a little too comfortable leaning on the Apex?
So the Apex is massive, for the Ultimate Fighter, the Contender Series. We also, for the Apex, we use it for some of the fighters that train. They come here to the Performance Institute. We built the whole wing. We're doing a huge expansion right now. We're going to do like a $17 to $20 million expansion of the Apex. So we're not going to utilize less. I'm actually going to make some big announcements here within the next 6 months, and we'll be utilizing the Apex much more. That's why we're expanding it. Yeah, I mean, we're taking fight nights back out on the road. We did get very comfortable using the Apex, but the world we were living in the last couple of years, I was more comfortable with the Apex than going to some of these other cities that I wasn't too crazy about going to yet because of certain, things that were going on and whatever. But yeah,
Well, I
the
think
Apex is going to expand and actually become. We're going to utilize it more with some of these announcements that are coming out soon.
Well, I think when we saw the setup inside the Apex for, a pro wrestling event, when we saw WWE kind of come in there, and and a lot of people looked at that and said, "Hey, this looks cool. We could have had this in the Apex. Why didn't we have this kind of setup that felt like a little bit more of an actual event rather than, some people in recliners, and it's a very quiet and kind of a muted environment."
Yeah. Well, as it gets bigger, you get more bodies in there. I mean, every time we do a fight at the Apex, the thing is packed wall to wall. The recliners were during COVID when we had recliners in there. We were dealing with a lot of restrictions and COVID crap at that time. So that's why I loved the fact that we were able to do the stuff that we did in Abu Dhabi. We built a true bubble. We in all sports, we were the ones that only had the real true bubble going on at that time. Abu Dhabi had sent these people in 3 months before we started, and everybody was tested, and people were tested multiple times before they were even allowed to get on a plane. Then once you got to Abu Dhabi, you got tested a bunch of times before you could leave your room. So we created a true bubble over there. But the Apex has been massive for us, huge.
Well, last question, I'll let you go. I know you're busy. Right now you got the Dana White's Contender Series. You got the Dana White's Power Slap. I turn on CNN, I see Dana White on CNN. You're at the Republican convention. I hear criticism when people say, is this guy bored of just being a fight promoter? Is just being the guy who runs the UFC not enough anymore, and wants to be something else? What do you say to that?
I don't know what else am I trying to be?
Well, it seems like you become kind of a brand unto yourself. You got your name on the branding of all these different
Well,
things, and also you're sort of like CNN calls you up as a guy to come on and talk about the election.
first of all, it's not called Dana White's Power Slap. It's just Power Slap. That's me and the Fertitas own that together. And then Dana White's Contender Series, there was a legal reason that Dana White had to go before the Contender Series because of the Contender. So every time
Oh.
we talk about the Contender, it has to be Dana White's Contender Series. That's not like some ego play, like I want my name on the front of this thing. It was legal reasons because we were trying to create a name for this thing, and we wanted to call it the Contender Series, but they own the trademark to the Contender. So we battled, through this thing. And there's a couple other legal reasons why that had to happen. And then as far as the the talking about politics, everybody knows my long time friendship and history with Donald Trump. Otherwise, you don't really see me out there being very political or trying to jump on any of these political shows. And even when I do talk on political shows, I'm talking to everybody. I'm not just talking to the right. I'm talking to the right, the left, the independents. I'm talking to everybody. Because when you look at all the bullshit right now that's involved in politics, I don't care what side you're on. We're all Americans. We all want the same things. We all want the same things. We want to make a good living. We want to get a house. We want a car. We want to feel safe, in our hometown and definitely in our houses. And we want to take care of our families. No matter what walk of life you're from, what you want, we all want the same things. And what I basically try to say is cut all the bullshit out. We're all Americans. And I don't tell anybody how to vote. I don't tell anybody how to think. I just tell everybody my relationship that I've had with this man for 20 something years and who he really is and what type of a person he really is and what type of people his family are. They're good people. So that's it for me.
It does seem though like when you're watching the UFC broadcast, it comes across as having a certain political viewpoint because we get a walkout. There's Donald Trump, there's Tucker Carlson. It does feel like, okay, this is a pro-Republican fight promotion company. And you hear that from fans. I mean, some people I'm sure love it, and other people go, this is not the same way you didn't want to be reminded of COVID during the pandemic. They don't want to be reminded of upcoming presidential election while they're watching the UFC.
It's true. When we do come out, but you see the way the crowd reacts to it? Off the charts, right? Now, if Biden came to a UFC event, I would treat Biden the same way. I mean, I probably wouldn't walk, but if Biden was there, we would cover the fact that the president of the United States, or if Obama or Bush or any of those guys ever came to an event, we would treat them with the same respect. A former or standing president of the United States shows up at your event, you show them the respect. And it's just like the thing that happened with Trump, the assassination attempt. If somebody attempted to assassinate Biden or any of the other former presidents of the United States, I would be disgusted by it, just like I was in the attempt on Trump's life. I'm an American, and whoever is the president of the United States is my president. You don't hear me running around yelling, that guy's not my president. Whoever is the standing or former president of the United States is my president. And they would be treated with the same respect. When we were at Madison Square Garden, the last time that Trump came to Madison Square Garden, two of the Secret Service details had passed each other, and they had said that Biden's granddaughter was there, and the Secret Service was there with her. I tried to grab her. I had tried to have them pull her back to my room to meet her and say, thanks for coming to the event or whatever. But I guess when she heard Trump was coming, she left, which sucks. I would have liked to have met her, but I don't judge people by their politics, and I don't play any of those games that people play with politics. I treat everybody with respect, and the UFC is not it's not like, oh, this is a big Republican, whatever. These people come to the event and we do our thing. And Trump has been a fan since day one. This guy's been a fan. He showed up. Hey, guess what? When he wasn't the president of the United States and he came to the ones that he was all over that broadcast too, back in those days when we did him at the Taj. No different.
I don't know if Biden or Obama would go with Kid Rock as the entrance, but I'd be interested to see what they would choose.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if they came to an event, they would be treated with the same respect that any former president should receive and would receive at the UFC.
All right, well, we'll have to cut it off there. Dana, thanks again for the time. We appreciate you.
All right, have a good day.